Okay, so let's go down here. It says Shuv Maisa. Uh, yeah, Shuv Maisa Rabbi Yoshua. Shoyim Half Baderach. Uben Zoima. Ben Zoima Ba Kenegdos. Ben Zoima is coming opposite him. Shal B'Shloimo. He asked him, "How are you doing?" Lo Yeshivo. He was not in this world. Ben Zoima, right? He was in a almost yoinim, right? It's important to understand. I think it's Pashut, but it has to be said outside. Is that every time the Chazal or anybody else had an aliyas neshama, it means their body stayed down here. The neshama went somewhere else. The one exception which we have to that, it seems, is Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Although we don't know if it's an exception because Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, when he went alive in the Gan Eden. So the question is what exactly happened there. But normally when in these visions, the neshama goes up, the body's down here below. So the Ben Zoima is obviously focused on something which is beyond this world. Okay, so so Amar Lo Mi Ayin Lo Ayin Ben Zoima, where are you coming from and where are you going, Ben Zoima? Amar Lo, he said, you see my Ma'aser I was looking at my Brachus. There's only a tefach between the mayim above and the mayim below. Says ruach elokim merachepes al pnei hamayim, which means that it was floating on the water, and that's what he's saying to be the mayim elyonim. It says that an eagle awakens its nest by floating on over, hovering over its chicks. This is just like over there. By the case of the case of the eagle, it's touching and not touching, which he assumes to be a tefach, right? So to here, he touching and not touching. So what we said last week when we did the Reb Tzadok is that the Mayim Elyonim and Mayim Tachtonim are Mayim Elyonim is the Shefa which comes from Hashem to us. Mayim Tachtonim is the Shefa which comes from us to Hashem, right? The Ruach Elokim Merachefes is the connection which we have, which HaKadosh Baruch Hu directs towards us, and but the tefach is way too big too big a gap, right? It's too big a gap. There isn't even a tefach between them. They're mamish touching. Okay, so the idea that Ben Zoma is seeing tefach means he's still mi bachutz. He's still outside. He hasn't yet come to the inner understanding. And it may well be that we know that there's we know, well, Rabbi Yeshua is saying there is no gap, right? But Rabbi Yeshua is saying that intellectually. He's saying, we know Kabbalah, we know Messiah, we know that there's no gap. But Rabbi Yeshua didn't try necessarily to envision that and with a kind of a trance, and even we're going up to see it from a divine perspective. So I can say it, and you can say it. It won't drive us crazy, because we're not trying to experience it. But if you try to experience it and focus on it and depict it in your mind, then things can go haywire. That's Rabbi Eric Kaplan's Jewish meditation book says there's certain meditations which are very dangerous. A person should not necessarily try them. And if a person tries them, they shouldn't be alone when they try them, because you need somebody to bring you back down to earth if you're going to float or go too high. Again, this is all in your mind. And Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan finished his book, Jewish Meditation, which is an unbelievable masterpiece. It's the day before he died. The next day he died. And he died of allegedly a massive heart attack. But a lot of people think that he died because he went too far. In other words, he finished the book, and then he went up to one of those dangerous madrigas, and he just didn't come back down again. Because if you die,
My mother has it.
What?
My mother has it.
It's a great book. It's worth reading. So if you
I don't
die,
go crazy.
what?
I don't want to go crazy.
Don't worry, you have a long ways to go. So you have to learn. First, have to learn how to meditate, extremely advanced levels. So that is what makes it very dangerous. Okay, as we're going to see in a minute. Okay, so Ben Zoma died. This obviously this focus, which took him out of this world to the point they didn't perceive Rabbi Yeshua, who was his Rebbe, coming towards him, right? That means that he's already half a foot, 1 foot out of this world. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda said, "Shlosh year to Taras and Lifnei Rabban." 3 Tanoim said over their Torah, which they learned in terms of Kabbalah, in front of their Rebbes. Rabbi Shua Lifnei Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai, Rabbi Lifnei Rabbi Yeshua, and Hananiah ben Chachinoi Lifnei Rabbi Akiva. Okay, they were able to, and this is what the Mishnah says, that you ain't Darshan Ma'aser Merkava Elin Kain even 1-to-1 unless he's Chacham maybe Midaita. So what do you mean Chacham? That means that Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai is not teaching it to Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua understands it on his own, and Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai confirms his understanding. Right? In other words, again, since it says you're not supposed to give it directly, but the Talmud has to be maybe Midaita, means he comes up with the understanding. He asks his Rebbe, "Is this what to understand?" And the Rebbe says yes. So the 3 people did this successfully and were able to fully grasp, evidently, what in those Doros, obviously, we're not talking about Doros before. When Doros were able to grasp what's going on in Loma Yonim. And it's important, I think, to note that these generations are after the Churban. Before the Churban, it's quite possible that many people are able to go up to much higher madrigas, because when the Beis Hamikdash existed, even the second Beis Hamikdash, even at the very end, there are very holy people there. The Vilna Gaon is supposed to have said, I don't know when, I don't remember where I read this, but years ago, that he would give all of his Torah to be a Pashta Ba'al at the time of the second Beis Hamikdash.
Well, that would probably be more than he was. Then.
What? That's what he said. Yeah. So that point is that
the last Mishnah Saita.
What?
The last Mishnah Saita says that that everything just went downwards.
Right. So the assumption is, and the Beis Hamikdash is that many people are able to get the high madrigas, which they could not do afterwards. Okay, so so it's possible. It means these shleisha are 3 who were later on in Yavne, probably. Oh, this probably took place in Yavne, where they're also getting up to this this level. Mikam ve'elach, from here on in, after these 3, ain't daita nekiah. Right? People who were not sufficiently nekiah das, meaning they weren't holy enough, they weren't focused enough, they weren't clean enough to be able to attain a grasp in a vision of these things. Okay. Arba nichsu Pardes. Echad hititzu meis. 4 people went into the Pardes, and again, we assume that this is something we don't know exactly what the nichsu Pardes and Ma'aser Merkava. If we take a look over here in the Carbon Ada, it says Shlosh Yitzu Tarasan Darshu b'Ma'aser Merkava Lifnei Rabban. So they darshu Ma'aser Merkava, and Nichus Pardes, it seems, is the actual. We talked about before. Olu Rakia De Shem. You don't have to Rakia by meditating, by saying Shem Hashem. Look at them as they went on high. That's what you're saying, Mamish, before about it's a vision, not literal. Okay, so they so the here to Torah, so could be it's the theory, and even the theory of Ma'aser Merkava requires a tremendous amount of comprehension, and only a person has to be chacham maybe midaita. And now we're talking about the actual Aliyah Pardes, going up to Kavyochol Shamayim in one's meditation. Okay, so the Gemara says, I'm Pardes. Echad Eitzitu mates. One saw what he saw. Literally, Heitzitz means to gaze. So he gazed at what he gazed and he died. Ve'echad, and one of them, Hitzitz v'nifka. One of them went crazy, and that was Ben Azai, and Echad. Hates one another one looked and he became an apikoros. Now, Kitzis Benetias is interesting lashon. What kind of apikoros is that? So Kitzis Benetios, that's acher. We said before, up when you go up to Shana, it's going up to a Pardes, right? It's going up to an orchard. So in an orchard, there are trees growing, and the only difference between those trees and our trees is that those trees grow down, supposed up. Our trees grow from the bottom up. Those trees grow from the top down. Our roots are in the ground and the tree is in the air. Their roots of these, they're not real trees, obviously, but their roots, which are the roots of things which go on in this world, are in Shamayim, and the foliage, the tree is that comes down from there. And Kitzis Benetias is that you cut off the branches which come down to this world from the roots. What does that mean? The Greeks had an idea of God who has nothing to do with this world. There is a God, but he has nothing to do with this world. Doesn't interact with this world. Right? They had an idea that the world coexisted all the time with the gods in the two different realms, and they have no connection to each other. Okay? So so it seems that when Acher was Klitz Vitios, he adopted that Greek perspective. He severed the branches down here below from the roots, which are on high. So what goes down here, as night goes on up above. And the Gemara is going to explain it, I think. Okay, so they are at Echad Nichnas B'Sholom B'Yatza B'Sholom. One went in peace, came out peace, and we know it's very clear. But Azai Hitzitz V'Nifka. But Azai saw, and he went out of his mind. All of because Omer about him, the pasuk says, "Dvash matzasa." If you find honey, echol dayecha, eat sufficient, but not too much. Where there's going too far. Okay, that's where he went. It says at the end of the pasuk says, "Dvash matzasa echol dayecha." Oh, what's the other supposed to say? 1 second. I have to look it up. I think it's because maybe you're going to get sick from having too much honey. I think is what it says there. Second, yeah. Yeah, Drash Pentis Ba'enu, because maybe becomes so satisfied with Hakia, so then you're gonna regurgitate it. In other words, the person has to know the person has to know what their madrega is, what their mind can grasp. And Ben Azai reached beyond his madrega. And it's very, I should add, it's very tempting. That's why we'll have the alpha Abdullah. That's why people overdose on drugs. Because once you start having that pleasure or that high, it's very hard to say, okay, Adkan, this is the end. And being high on something spiritual is like Dvash. And it's hard to stop eating. So that's a danger. That's when Azai was not succumbed to that danger. Ben Zoyma umes. Ben Zoyna, he had this meditation and he died. It's the death of his people who are his chasidim is a difficult thing for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's interesting. He says he puts it here. Where is it? Yeah. Yakar B'nei Hashem Matzachadav says Carmeneda. Who Shami saw Salipana? Lefi Shemei's Bachor. When Tanoim were too young to be good, get smicha, they're called Ben Azai, Ben Zoma. And so Hashem says it's sad that he had to die because he died young, right? But it's still, there's no turning back. Says once you uncover certain secrets of the Bria, you can't survive that. Right? Like Rabbi Kaplan, you go beyond the Bria. Then we have Echad Hitzitz Vikitis Bentios Mani Acher. Who's Mani? Who's that Acher? Elisha ben Abuya. Shehorek Rabbi Torah. Now this is a very strong statement. It says he would kill the Gedolei Torah. Now we don't know if that's literal. It's probably not. It may mean that he was such a big time chacham before he left that he could kill the other rabbis in learning. It could mean that he was to pursue the other rabbis once he went off the derech. But he was a great person. Amrin, they said, Kol tamidav v'chamelin mishabach baraisa. Any student you saw that he was growing in Torah, have a katilei. He would kill him. Now again, Lav Dafki would actually kill him, right? He would. Although the Korban Eda says, Armin Kol Tamid Sheroeh Shumatzim Torah Yohargo Apiyazei Machashepos Aydei Shemos. Anytime he saw was growing and learning, he would kill him by sorcery or by even Shemos HaKadoshim, which can also kill. But the Pashup, that's the Pashup shot. But it probably means that he convinced them to go off the derech. Didn't kill them literally. He took them and killed them spiritually. Below none of that, he used to go to the base medrash. We see young boys. Kume suffer from a sefer. Vuamar ma elaine yasvin abdin hacha. What are they doing here? Sitting here. Umna say the hach banoi. The craft of this person should be to become a builder. Umna say the han nagar. The craft of this person should be that he should be a carpenter. Umna say the hein sayad. The craft of this person should be that he's a hunter. Umna say the hein chayat. And the craft of this person should be that he's a tailor. Came down, Shavin came once the boys heard this. Having Shavkin late, V'atilon. They left, and they left the base medrash, right? So again, it seems that he didn't actually kill them, but he took them away from learning. He said, "What's the point of you learning?" Right? Just go and go out and get find a job. Go out and contribute to society a different way. That's one of the great things of being kotetz b'netios, means that you don't think that learning Torah in and of itself is valuable, and that learning Torah in and of itself uplifts the bria. So therefore, he told him, "Go, leave." He tried to empty the base medrash.
What made him think like that?
What? The fact that he thought that nothing a person, if you quotes it's matias, means you sever between what goes down here, goes down above. It means learning Torah doesn't make the world a better place. No mitzvah has an impact on Shamayim, and therefore it doesn't bring kedusha down to the world. Because the way we understand it, you do a mitzvah in the Torah that makes kedusha, generates kedusha. The kedusha goes up to Shamayim and brings down shefa to the world. Brings down a flow to the world.
Why would he think that? What did he see?
What?
What would he have seen that made him think that?
So the Gemara in Bavli in Chagigah says not the I don't recall if it's brought down here later in the Yerushalmi. Could be it is brought down something else, but in the Bavli it says when he went to the Shemaim, he saw the angel Matat. In English, his name would be pronounced Metatron. We don't pronounce it in Hebrew because he's very holy Malach, and we don't pronounce it. We try to avoid pronouncing names Malachim, which have not become human names as well. So in any event, so he saw that the Malach Matat was sitting, whatever that means, in his vision in the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And he said, "Oh, if the Malach Matat can sit in the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that means there must be that leis din leis dain. There's no judgment and no judgment," which is a very strange conclusion to reach. But the point is that if HaKadosh Baruch Hu cares what goes down below, and there's a correlation to what goes down below and what comes up above, so then how can a malach sit down in the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? That was the conclusion he reached. Obviously, there's much deeper, aspect to it, but the point is that he felt that if Hashem is connected to the world, so things have to work in a certain way, and if they don't work in the way which I expect, it means Hashem really doesn't care what goes on down here in the world. Again, it says that he saw the Malach Matat sitting down in the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It says he's sitting down writing the merits of Am Yisrael. You could say something else, a different shot, which is if the merits of Am Yisrael are meaningful, then the Malach Matat should be standing up in honor of those merits of Am Yisrael. Even in his vision, which is not necessarily reality, but is in his vision, he should see the Malach Matat standing up because the zchuyos of Am Yisrael is so important. If he sees him sitting down, maybe those zchuyos are not so important after all. So whatever the interpretation is, that's what he saw, and that's what he decided. Again, there's no point in learning Torah. Go become carpenter. Go become a hunter. There's no your learning Torah is insignificant. That was the conclusion came to. Concerning the Pardes says, don't let your mouth cause your flesh to sin. And the Karmeida says on this down here, out there is Shabbatifri with the words of his mouth. Not he took a sword. He would make the children sin. So he wants to say, Karmeida says, he wants to say that his own children, and he was having his own children. And that's, I guess, because your own flesh would be referring to his own children. I don't know if you have. I don't think you have to say that, but that's what Carbonator suggests here. Okay. And another reason that he says it is shechibel ma'asei adam shel oso ish. So at the time he destroyed the way Carbonator's name means that he destroyed the handiwork of himself, and that himself meaning his own children. But one could say that he destroyed that person's handiwork. In other words, that person who he made when he was young go out of the base matters. He destroyed that person's ultimate life. Up B'Shas Aksa. So even at the time when there were tzaras Am Yisrael, he used to make and they made Am Yisrael be Mechal Shabbos. Have a matilu metailin to Aksa's tzaros. Aksa is like tzara in Aramaic. Have a matilu metailin. They require Jewish people to carry loads on Shabbos. And Rosh Hashanah. V'ava miskavnein mitun trei chamatul. And in order to make sure they're not over the raisa, two people carry one load because the halacha is mishul shum shnayim she'asum lacha achas. If two people do a malacha, which either one could have done alone, you're not chayav. if only two people do malacha, which neither of them could have done alone, then they're both chayav. The two people do malacha that either one could have done alone, they're both pater. So asem midrabanan, but not asem midaraisa, not chayav daraisa. So Omar, so Acher would say to the authorities, Atinu nichidoin, right? No, go give them individual loads. Don't let them carry 2 by 2, because then they won't be transgressing the Torah. We want them to transgress the Torah. Give each one his own load. Oslin, so they went and made them go as individuals. But I'm going to go to run out of time, okay, which is in less than 1 minute. You know what? Maybe not. I was going to lose. I'm going to stop middle sentence anyway. Okay, so then we're in the middle of what he used to try and make Jews dafka sin, in order to try and convince them there's no connection between Shemayim and Oretz.
Okay.
Okay, we'll
Thank
take
you,
that
Rebbe.
last week.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good
Thank
night.
you, Rebbe.
Good
Bye.
night.